I have to, one thing which is pissing me off, the word guys. So I have to always think how to eliminate it from my vocabulary.
So
Because
we're
we,
really lucky in the South, man. We say y'all.
oh yeah, I can't do that. You need some accent for that.
Oh,
Um,
try y'all. Try saying y'all real quick.
no, 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 no.
You don't want to say y'all?
I'll do my thing. No worries. No worries.
Welcome to coffeeis.me podcast, where me means you, or more precisely, us. This is the show where your host, Valerian, without using any interrogation techniques, convinces coffee professionals to reveal their secrets to teach and inspire you to make better coffee and earn a few bucks on the side, if that's what you fancy. Let the show begin.
Hey coffee people, welcome to Coffee Is Me podcast. I'm your host Valerian Rala, and today I have a very special guest. I always have special guests, I know, but today it's really special treat. It's my buddy Stephen Ezell from Sequential Coffee. Did I get it right?
No, Valerian. That's sequential coffee.
Oh, okay. So from Sequential Coffee. How are you, man? What's up?
I'm doing great. Doing great. How are you, man? It's nice and warm here in Florida.
It's weird. It's kind of end of the world here because with Corona, then we have all the fires. So the fires collected this giant smoke which is above us, and it's super weird because we used to have fog, now we have smoke, and you breathe it, you live with it. We had one day when it was dark until basically throughout the whole day because it's covered the skies. Dude, that's super weird times here. So
It's crazy. No, I saw a video online recently that somebody did some drone footage in San Francisco during this orange phase through the fires, and they linked it up with the music from Blade Runner, and it just went perfectly. It's like an end of the world stuff going on out there. Good thing everybody's already wearing masks.
right. So it's kind of surreal because I see now tutorials how to make an image with a orange light. Because if you make just a picture, it does not show really well because everybody has auto white balance. So in a cameras or your phone, the auto white balance will kind of eliminate that oranginess, and people are annoyed that I cannot make that oranginess. So there are tutorials now how to make the orange light appear in your photos. That's weird.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, I could probably put one of my images that I take a picture outside here in Jacksonville through sepia tone and then almost be what you guys are out when we just go outside.
Hey, but you cannot hashtag it then no filter. We
Yeah,
can.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you got to be legit.
Exactly, you have to be legit. Oh God, it's a humor in a sad times.
Yeah, I know. Black humor, like dark humor, it's very important because if you can't laugh at it, then we're just going to cry the whole time, and
Right,
that's no fun.
right, right. You're right. Anyhow, we have very hard work today. All these people are here waiting for us to start to talk about your business and not
Yeah,
about the weather in California.
yeah, true.
So, before we start, I always have this kind of like a warm-up question
hmm
about your first sip of coffee. Do you remember it?
Mm. Well, I was thinking about that really hard, and I don't remember my first sip of coffee. I remember my first sip of specialty coffee, though. I absolutely remember that. But my relationship with coffee goes back to when I was a kid. I tried to emulate my dad by drinking it, and I never really cared for it, so I would just pretend. But then when I was a little older, I worked at Starbucks, and I had a tasting. I remember on one of my first days that we were there, and they gave us Dimitas cups, and all of them tasted like a ashtray to me. And they were saying, try out all the different varieties from different countries. And I was like, I cannot tell the difference between these. And then it was until I went out to California and I met Willem Boot. And he gave me a cup of Panama Geisha as my first cup of specialty coffee ever. So I'm a little bit spoiled, if you will.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
that's hard if your first cup of coffee is Panamanian geisha. That's
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so now you reveal the secret that we were colleagues before. I should have
Yeah.
warned out people about that. Anyways, so we are buddies, and as I mentioned, and we also work together in at Boot Coffee, doing different things. And you were a trainer there, right?
Yeah, I was. I started out learning everything that was going on at the lab, and then Willem started inserting me into the classes, like doing a little bit here, a little bit there when it came to roasting training. And then eventually I was teaching half the class, and Jody and Marley would teach the other half, and then Willem would pop in and give his brilliance, and then we would just have a lot of fun. It was very cool.
Those are the lovely Jody Wieser.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Q instructor, and Marley Benefield, and I think they do it together still.
Yeah.
So
they have another.
we miss you guys. We miss you.
Yeah,
guys.
we miss you totally. Like those were the days. Those were a lot of fun.
I agree. So how about what did you do after? You left us.
Yeah, I did. After Boot, I started working with someone we both know, Mukhtar Al-Kanshali.
Who's
we
that?
worked on Mukhtar Al-Kanshali.
I'm kidding.
I don't know if you know anything about him, but he's a Yemeni guy who did some really amazing things.
Yeah. So just very briefly tell who Mokhtar is. So not everybody knows him.
Of course. So Mukhtar was a client over at Boot Coffee, and he had this project where he wanted to go find the best coffee in Yemen, and so he did. He went over there, and it wasn't easy for him. And I don't want to give away the whole story, but there's a book about it called The Monk of Mocha, if you want to read about Mukhtar and his journey. And he did some amazing things over in Yemen. He's still doing amazing things, and he's plugging away, selling some beautiful coffees. So he's probably the most knowledgeable person in the world about Yemeni coffee, at least that I know. And so we worked together on that project for a little while. And then once I was done there, I moved out to Nevada, and I worked at San Franciscan Coffee Roaster, building coffee roasting machines and training people on those machines. And then moved back to Florida. Since then, we've started our own company out here.
You have all this knowledge, from the industry, many people, you were training many people, and yet you were crazy enough to start a coffee company. Why?
Yeah.
So tell me the story of Sequential Coffee.
So how did that happen? I started doing some consulting out in California based on what I learned from Willem, and I started a little company called Sooty Turn Coffee, Sooty Turn Tern, and that wasn't a really cool name, and so I wanted to continue doing consulting, and I got a client in Nevada. They're Retro Rocket Coffee. They're amazing. They're doing really good work, and I changed the name to Sequential Coffee. The reason being is I used to be a manager at a comic book store, and one of my favorite graphic novels that I ever read was about sequential art, which is comic books. And sequential art basically is taking images, little views into a story, and then making a story out of a small amount. So you can have like 3 frames, and you could tell a whole story, and somebody gets a feeling of everything. What I wanted to do is people take 3 sips of coffee, and they know the whole story of what's going on with that origin. They get a background on the website, all of that stuff. And really sequential consulting evolved into Sequential Coffee, just based on comic books, based on my passion for that and my passion for coffee. One of the first things that I wanted to do, and it's still on the docket, is create a graphic novel for coffee producers, in which it doesn't have any words in it. So you can transcend all language barriers by using imagery, so that farm producers can improve their work, improve their health, and things of that sort. So that's one project we want to get into, and so we leaned in a little bit heavy on the comic book imagery, like our little tags here on our bags kind of allude to the tag that has the number of the comic book on it, and it's got what superhero the comic book is about on it. Instead, we have words there saying Columbia and taste descriptors, things of that sort. So it's fun to use the imagery from comic books, which people relate to. So I had this idea to do a coffee company, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a lot better at a lot of things than I am. He's a producer. He's a director. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years, almost 20 years. We went out to lunch, and he said, "Tell me about this coffee thing." And before I know it, it's about a year and a half later, and we have a cafe, and we're doing wholesale. We're up in Grand Rapids, Michigan now, selling at grocery stores. We have lots of accounts. We're working with a bunch of people and having a blast. And it's about building things sequentially. We want to start small. We want to get really good at what we're doing. We want to expand, and eventually have a really good story to tell.
It's beautiful, man, how you said it. But I really want to drill into your brain. I don't let you go. This is a nice elevator pitch. I really want to know, in you as person, what the heck were you thinking when you decided to start another coffee company in a world where everybody is starting coffee companies?
Well, I figured I had something to say. And I had been helping people start their own coffee companies. And so I kind of knew the ins and outs of that, which, like you're saying, I totally get what you mean. It is crazy. It's a crazy business to get into, but it's my passion. It's what I'm good at. I feel like I have something to say with the coffee. I feel like I can use this as a platform for some good. And I figured if I didn't do it, then I'd regret it. So
you were not expecting to become a multimillionaire?
Multi-million. Yeah, jeez Louise. That comes when we make enough money with the coffee company to where we can get into marijuana.
Cool. Yeah, I was waiting. Like, it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. But yeah, I think that most of the people do this coffee for passion, for love, and hope to make good living. I mean, that's important, good living. But it's not this. If you want to become a multimillionaire, then I guess the stock market or banking or other.
Sure. You take some of the profits that you make off the coffee and you invest.
Yeah, all kind of fake universities. That will work better.
No, I honestly, what we want to do is we want to fill a lot of gaps in the area. I saw in North Florida that there were some people doing some really good things with specialty coffee. And there were also some people that could use some help from somebody who's been a trainer and things of that sort. So we're not just a roaster. What we really want to do here is be a big part of this community that's already been established in Jacksonville and all over Florida and the Southeast, on the East Coast. There's a ton of people doing this, and if we can raise the bar just a little bit with quality, then all boats rise with the tide. So what's fun to me is to work with other people that work in coffee here in the area, and to do cuppings and things of that sort that normally doesn't happen around here. And it's just a lot of fun to bring that experience to the area and to share that with my colleagues.
Cool. Let's go a little bit to a practical part of the podcast when we try to kind of help and guide people who are either deciding or starting coffee companies. Do you remember your few steps which you had to do when you started Sequential? When did you start Sequential, by the way?
We've been producing coffee. We've been roasting coffee since December of last year, but prior to that, we had been building everything to get to that point.
Yeah, so you have it fresh in your memory, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. John Shepard and I have been plugging away on this for months and on end, and it really all kind of started when we came out for some consulting with Willem Boot to talk about how can we get an angle on this. And we figured it's pretty hot in Florida, so we could focus on cold drinks, and we're having a blast with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you remember your first steps? What, you think that other companies will have to go through the same steps?
The very first step is to talk to other local coffee people. That's exactly what I did. I started meeting people in the area that had resources, such as roasters and a lab and things of that sort, so that I would be able to function within the starting area. Because unless you have some good investment, having your own roasting lab is pretty expensive. And so getting in with people that are in the area was the best move that I could have made. I met a guy named JP Salvat. He's in a really killer band called LPT. He's a salsa musician, and he has a roastery. And I was sitting at his restaurant eating some biscuits and gravy, and I commented to the barista that the coffee was really good, and I was very interested in where I was from, who roasted it, all of that. She said, "Well, you're sitting right next to him." So I turn and I start talking to JP, and I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" He was like, "Well, I'm roasting coffee right up the street," and this is like literally 3 minutes away from my house. And so we had a great conversation about San Franciscan. He's roasting on one of those, and where he started, like what he's trying to do, and came up with a way to work together. And so I've been roasting at his lab for the past months, and that's been really wonderful. And so if you're able to get in with other people in the community, then you're going to have a ability to roast right off the bat. If you can toll roast with anyone, that's really helpful. And then also that's going to get you in to where you can have a really good relationship over a long period of time, where you can share your assets, they can share theirs, and get that community going. Because community, to me, in coffee is far superior to competition. Mm-hmm. You need competition, but you also need a really good attitude about the people that are around you doing the things that you're doing also,
I kind of agree with you, but first of all, I think that you guys finding somebody else who has a roaster and they will let you roast on it is super smart. Basically, what you do, you lower your risk, right? So, investing in a coffee company, it's a lot of money. I mean, having your own roaster lab and everything, and then you might end up not, doing it because you just cannot score clients, and all that thing is just waste. So getting in on somebody else is really good. I mean, with Unleash Coffee, we're using here the co-roasting facility, which we rent by hour, so it's really cool. But the community, like one thing which happens to me, and it's super funny, is I have the Slovak company called Green Plantation, and we are kind of known in Slovakia that who we are. And I used to do all these YouTube videos, so people know me as the coffee guy. And I get many times questions that, "Hey, I want to start a coffee company. Show me how to roast." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to show you how to roast. It's like, learn it. I mean, I had to go through the hoops. There are schools, there are training centers. There's resources. There's Coffee Pro program. So so they kind of get annoyed that I'm not sharing my wisdom. And I'm like, I think I do share my wisdom. I'm super generous with my wisdom. But there are some things which you have to go through it. So it's also important how we approach the community, right?
Yeah.
So
you don't want somebody to use you or step on your back,
Exactly.
But the thing is, I'm kind of addicted to teaching. It's just one of my passions, and I love it so much. And I kind of figure that if even if somebody's being an a-hole about it and they're trying to learn so that they can compete with me and take my customers, what I'm doing in this community, it works, because all that's going to do is it's going to raise the quality of coffee in the area. And when that happens, then I have the opportunity to take the next leap towards higher quality coffee, right? We're talking about my first cup of specialty coffee was Best of Panama that year, right? So we can go all the way up to that level of quality. It's just hard to make that jump in the area when people wouldn't understand the cost of a cup of coffee like that. They wouldn't know what to do with that. So really, if I'm training people and they're doing their own thing in the area, that's no sweat off of my back. It's nice because of that, but and it's also nice to think flowery about community over competition. But at the same time, we have to be realistic that some people are going to take advantage. So it just really depends on who you want to work with, and whether or not you want to spend the time with them and teach them what you got.
Definitely, but you can see that in this attitude we kind of show the difference of age between me and you, and also that fact that I'm European, and we are much more secretive. I don't think I'm secretive. There's
I don't think so.
It also depends how you approach a person.
Yeah.
If you go to somebody and say, "I want this," I'm sorry. Good luck with that.
Sure. Yeah.
So there were other people who approached me differently. They were interested. I mean, first of all, they were customers of Green Plantation. That always gives you a big credit.
Sure.
And they said, "Look, we want to do this. Can you help us?" And I thought, "Yeah, let's talk about it." And that worked. So it really depends. But what's actually funny about this is also this podcast shows that European versus United States attitude.
Yes.
Like, dude, I'm trying so hard to get European guests here because I think European perspective can be awesome. I've wrote to big companies, European, not big, but like big in the third wave, not third wave coffee, specialty coffee. Small ones, dude, I don't get any feedback. It's harder and harder to find people for this podcast because this is not about bragging about your coffee. It's about telling your secrets, really, telling tips to other people. And the United States is much more generous in this, which, I'm surprised because Europe is always a little bit bragging about the fact that, we are more social, we are more community-oriented. Well, yes, when it comes to politics and maybe healthcare and stuff like that, education, but when it comes to sharing know-how, it's opposite, which is super weird to me. It's surprising.
That's true. One attitude more about this is that I'm not really worried about people recreating what I'm doing. And now I can teach somebody exactly how I do stuff, and they're not going to be able to recreate it. And that might sound conceited, but it's not, because individual coffees and individual coffee roasters and roasting machines and all of these things play into our product, right? And so if I'm teaching somebody how to make our product, then they're going to have a little bit of a different result every time. So my goal is usually to teach people how to handle coffee, period, as opposed to just to make it delicious. Like really, the point is to understand what you're working with, and if you do understand that, one, you could be safer with it, and two, you can actually be a part of a good thing. I try to get people to go with importers that I know, with direct trade agreements with people that I know, and that way you can kind of give people a little bit of knowledge so that they can go in a more positive direction for the industry itself.
Totally.
So if I could be a positive light, that's all I want to do, and I'm not afraid of people roasting the Colombia coffee like I roast the Colombia coffee, if you will.
No, totally. I totally agree with you on this. And many times, when we got customers to the coffeecourses.com, their online education, many times they expect that we give you a recipe book. We don't. I mean,
you can't.
I mean, it's not possible. I would deceive you. I would be lying to you. I would be a-hole if I give you a recipe book. We have some roast profiles you can follow, but first of all, it's, even if you consider this as a recipe book, it's stupid, because what happens is that you will line up with many other companies. You have to develop your own style. And then we, of course, have the different roasters, different environments. I mean, you should know how to handle coffee. You should know the roasting theory, and then you should make your own ways, and which suits your taste palette, so you can stand by that coffee, what you sell, and also to your customers, obviously. So I totally agree with you, Matt, man. It's like sometimes we are expecting the silver bullet, but it's not that easy, If it would be that easy, then everybody can do it, Speaking of training, you guys are Coffee Pro subscribers. And, we actually filmed the barista unit together.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun. That's how we started to work together. And you knew it. So why did you decide to get into Coffee Pro again?
Look, Valerian, I'm a human being. I have a human brain, and I cannot hold on to every aspect of all of the things that I've taught. And so I need a resource to be able to go back into. And it's been really awesome to go back into Coffee Pro because it's taking me back to the classes that I was teaching 5-6 years ago, and giving me access to some of those ideas, which I've developed from. But looking back on all of the training materials that we were using back then is incredibly beneficial, because not only am I inspired to try different things based on some of the stuff that we're training on that I wouldn't have. I'm also inspired to teach these things yet again. So it's a lot of fun to watch the videos, to listen to Willem explaining a lot of these things, and to watch the old barista videos with Devora. They're great. So I jumped into the grinding section most heavily lately, and that's been really informative for me, because I've been thinking about so many different aspects, and like music, you think about a mixing board, right? So you can bring up the highs, you could bring up the mids, you could bring up the lows, the bass, and all of that stuff. And in that, you can change all of these variables by using a grinder in a particular way, or using an espresso machine in a particular way. You can bring up the highs and the acidity of the coffee. You can bring up the lows and the lower notes, or the mouthfeel of the coffee, by treating it differently in the grinder. Even every single phase that the coffee passes through is covered in Coffee Pro. And every single phase that the coffee passes through to get to a customer will change that coffee for the better or for the worse. So to know how to control it, and to have that information readily accessible is absolutely beneficial to this company.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I'll hire you as a sales guy.
Oh, please do. I could use all the income sources that I can take, because I run a coffee company.
Right. Is there something you didn't like? Because this was very generous of you to speak so nicely about Coffee Pro. But was there something you were not a big fan of?
Oh, from Coffee Pro?
Yeah.
And itself? Oh, well, see, that's hard. That's hard to put me on the spot like that. But to think about it, the only thing that I was missing was being in person. The in-person training with Boot was great, and that's the only thing I really missed from it was the cheese plates that they had there, and then things of that sort, like your bread and things of that sort. So look, it's an online platform, and you're going to get what you get out of it, and you don't have other people sitting around with you learning to bounce the ideas off of, unless you want to. And you could go through the classes with them with other people if you want to as well. So whatever drawback there is for online learning, like just the fact that that resource is there and that you can go back into it makes up for any of those things that might be negative.
For me as Eastern European, I was recently kind of like doing a cataloging it, because we just relaunched the version 3.0, which is much nicer environment and stuff like that. So I was kind of cataloging the courses, and there are some videos we have to still upload because they were not uploaded. And I realized, did you ever add it up in your head, just like looking at it, what's the value of these courses if you go and take them live?
Oh, geez. Okay,
right?
Right. So you're thinking, like a coffee training course, like an individual one-on-one coffee training course for 2 days is going to cost you about $1,500, or no, $1,500, $15,000, no way, $1,500. And so if you're paying $1,500 for 2 days of one-on-one, instead, you can go online and learn a lot more than that. What you're going to be able to get in 2 days for a much cheaper price. So there's a lot of value there, I feel.
Especially for, like not everybody can. First of all, nowadays, nobody can really go and take a course, right? Because
not right now, yeah.
But even then, I can imagine there's a lot of companies, especially like in poorer countries, they cannot afford to come to California or come to the closest training center to pay for the course, the lodging and everything, and you end up paying like $3,000-4,000 only for one, just being there person, and you can get all these for like, what is it, $499 right now. So it's that's why we started it. I think that was my goal, that we can talk to the people who just cannot afford that money. And also, like, dude, I'm old. I forget things. Like, I forgot the first podcast which I recorded recently. Somebody reminded me. I was like, "What? I did that?" He said, "Yeah, you did." I was like, "Okay." So it's kind of cool to remind yourself, and you can go back to the content anytime you want. And enough of this pitching and doing Coffee Pro. So anyhow, thank you very much for the kind words. Let's continue with the sequential, so we don't sound like sales guys.
Oh, sure.
What we are.
Yeah, I'm selling Sequential. You're selling Coffee Pro. I'm selling Coffee Pro. You're selling Sequential. That's what's up, baby.
Yeah, that's what's up. Come on, guys.
You can cut that out if you need to.
Okay, so I have this one question which you got excited about because we had a previous conversation. And was there something that you were pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised when you were starting the Sequential?
Well, this is being recorded in the year 2020, and I don't know if anybody in the future is going to be listening to this and will have a chuckle. But there was an unpleasant surprise this year, and that was we were to be opening our outdoor cafe in March at a very popular place in Jacksonville, the Markets of Town Center, and there's a lot of walking that people do, a lot of shopping that people do out there. Well, COVID-19 happened, and that changed the whole plan. It set everything back by 3 months, ate up a lot of our fundage. We had to be really creative in the ways that we were going to bring in any sort of investment. We have some really wonderful people who have backed us and helped us out through this, and that's it. It's just been very difficult to get started. But after 3 months of COVID, we were able to launch, which is really nice. And we were able to open up our kiosk, walk-up outdoor cafe, which is pretty lucky that was already our plan before COVID. So that's pleasant, the fact that we were able to open up an outdoor cafe. It's unpleasant that we had to wait 3 months because of a global pandemic, which we were not prepared for that. I don't think anybody really was, though.
But there is nobody was ready for that. But there's a lesson here, right? I mean, there's always opportunities. Yeah. And opportunities come the strongest when the economy is weakest or people are confused and kind of like trying to protect their environment, and they don't do any moves. And that's when a good entrepreneur can do a move. It always reminds me of times after communism in Czechoslovakia, those 90s. If you bought any real estate then, we were buying it for peanuts. Today, it'd be like multiplied by 1,000 or 10,000, depends where the place is, You could buy anything for peanuts. People didn't have money, A, and B, all those opportunities. Also, people started the first companies. You could be a total, business idiot. You would still score because there were no other companies, and you could learn on a job. So there were all these opportunities in 90s. That always gives me this kind of like, when the economy is down anywhere, it's your time. If you have money and you want to buy real estate, go for it. If you want to start a company, go for it, because a lot of companies will go out of business, unfortunately, and it's the place for you. I mean, a good example here is the Pink Owl Cafe. I mean, they also opened in February. And they were hit right away. They went right away into COVID, and they actually have a store. But they were super creative. They were hustling, and they were, quotation mark, lucky because the Pete's nearby them, Starbucks, I'm not sure, one of these, giants, decided that they'll close the store. So everybody from that store, they went to their store. And with all the social distancing and, they had all these special seatings outside, they kind of figured it out. And they did okay.
Smart guys, smart people are going to get through a hard time. It just happens. Like people that have hustle, people that have the attitude for it, who aren't ready to lay down and take the apocalypse. We're gonna do what we need to do to get things done, because the government's not going to help you. The government's not going to help a small business succeed in this environment. So what we need to do is we need to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than we are. We
And
need
creative.
to
Here you
and
really need
creative.
creativity. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you show any hustle in a bad set of circumstances, that is a little bit inspirational to people. And what I'm really enjoying seeing is that as we succeed, as we roll out things that are COVID safe, and as we roll out different initiatives, people are being very responsive to that, and they're seeing us do something in the midst of a hard time. And that's inspiring other people to take the risk too. And that's important to me, is that people are able to follow like a little bit of a path that's been carved through this problematic time. We were very lucky that our cafe was already planned on being outside, and having a walk-up outdoor cafe in summertime during a pandemic sounds insane in Florida, or anywhere for that matter. But what it's done is it's created a space for people to feel safe as they walk up, and they can get their coffee and then just walk right off without having to go inside. And so we're going to replicate that. We would love for other people to do that too, because the safer that everybody is while they're enjoying their coffee, the better off we all are.
Okay. Tell us more about your place. I'm more curious about the setup. How much did it cost you to create that place? What are your financials right now? Is it profitable, and how many customers you get? And everything. We want to know everything.
I'm going to give you as much as I can, but it's really interesting, Valerian. Like it was a nominal investment into equipment primarily that we did. We worked out a deal with the people over at Markets of Town Center, and they want somebody local to represent. They want to be able to give a space for that, and for us to be able to build our way up at that little spot of real estate that they gave us. So it's a little kiosk. It's like one of those kiosks that you would see people selling T-shirts from at the mall or something like this. And we kitted it out as an entire barista side of the cafe. On the other side of the kiosk, it looks like a miniature cafe. It's a specialty coffee cafe. You got a La Marzocco on it. You got other really high-end brewing equipment. You've got really, really beautiful coffee bags, and everything's bright, and it just grabs people off of the sidewalk. And
I will ask for pictures for the
I will absolutely give you some pictures for the site so that people can see this. It's rather interesting. It's small, but it's effective, and so. Through COVID, we have yet to become profitable on that, but it's peeking into that. We don't have as much foot traffic as we would have had, So the landowners have been working with us, and they want us to stay there, and we want to stay there. So it's all about negotiation. It's not necessarily about buying a place and getting into it. It's not necessarily about any of that. It's about talking to other business owners or landowners in town and seeing if you can figure out a deal. You got to look for angles in the coffee industry, because if you just go like blindly into it and say, I'm going to buy this place and I'm going to make it into a cafe, you may be putting all your eggs in one basket there. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we've taken any investment money that we could and put it into kitting out the cafe, the kiosk, with the best equipment that we can, so that we could provide the best coffee experience. We're talking, like a $10,000, $15,000 investment in the kiosk itself, which is really nominal, and that gives us the ability and the mobility to do another project. So we're working on currently a mobile unit. So we're going to have a trailer that's going to go around town and provide coffee to different sides of town, different events and things of that sort. Just like the kiosk, it's going to be a walk-up, safe kind of thing to do during COVID, and it's also going to translate really well to after COVID, after this apocalypse is over. There's going to be people walking around wanting coffee. They're going to want a cold drink on a hot day, and so we got that on lock. So it's really about negotiation. It's about finding angles, and it's about making sure that you can stick to it even if you're not being profitable in the first months. if you're able to get through the first months and you're able to get a customer base, it's only going to grow from there.
So are you profitable now?
We are just about to break even, which is really, really incredible to be able to pull that off in the middle of summer and pandemic. So this is only a few months in. I think we've been open at the kiosk for about 3 months now, maybe 3.5, and so breaking even around this time is I feel very, very benefited by that, and what that's going to do is it's going to put an investment into that area, which will pay off after COVID, especially like even just in the winter time here. It's going to be fantastic as people are doing holiday shopping and things of that sort. So if you can have a business that can run off of breaking even for a little while, that's wonderful. If you can peek into a little bit of profit, that's huge. That's massive. It's just all about where you get your money from. So we're doing online sales, which is helping us a great deal. That's keeping us on the roasting side, breaking even, if not profiting just a tiny bit. And the first little profits that you see, they may be small, but that's going to grow. If you're seeing profits within the first quarter or the first half of the year, the first 2 quarters, you're going to do something good. It's just a great sign. So,
what kind of platform do you use for your online store?
We use Shopify, and it seems really user-friendly for people who don't necessarily build their own websites and such. So Shopify helps because we use that for both our POS system at the kiosk as well as our online sales. So we can track everything in the same space, and it makes it easy for us. I know there's a bunch of platforms around like that, and I suggest to have somebody else to be able to do the back-end management like that. Like having Shopify is very helpful for reports and different things of that sort.
Mm-hmm. I use WooCommerce, and I know it's a bit, WooCommerce and WordPress combination, and, I know it's a bit more complex. Mm-hmm. But if you're right, if somebody does not mind the Shopify cost, and want something super easy, Shopify is a good choice. I would say that after WooCommerce and WordPress, that would be my second choice. So cool.
Yeah. I mean, really, the point of that, Valerian, is that I want to roast coffee. I don't want to play on the computer.
I understand. Yeah. No. You're right.
Yeah.
Although there are some great games, but that's a different topic and different podcast.
Totally.
Okay, so you mentioned that you have the kiosk, you have the online store. Which other sales channels work for you and you are happy with them? And are there any which you go like, you're not sure yet?
Well, getting into grocery stores, we've had a conversation about this prior to this, but getting into grocery stores is hairy. It's something that we are going to do, and it's also something that is risky. It's all about getting your name out there. And so what we have to do now that we're in a grocery store up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, is we have to back that up with marketing. And I'm really lucky to be in a business with my best bud, Jonathan Shepard, who happens to be a producer and a director. And we made recently a music video for that salsa band I was talking about, LPT, which is really close to 1 million views at this point. So having that is a huge benefit because now we can make commercials and sell coffee elsewhere. And I think that's going to be good. But the profits that you get from that aren't that high. And what you would have to do to make profits off of selling at grocery stores is, one, have a product that people are going to just peel off the shelves. So it's got to look really, really good. And you have to have marketing to back it up. And you're going to make less of a margin on that. But the payoff from it is if you're able to do that, then that's that word of mouth, that's that advertising that you couldn't get elsewhere. Like you'd have to pay for billboards to get that kind of advertising to get your name out there. So it's not that's not my favorite, but it's something that we're dipping our toes in, and by dipping our toes in, we're going in wholehearted, and we're going to make some really crazy commercials for, and see what we can do with it. But it's not going to be the most profitable. It's just going to pay off in other kinds of dividends.
I'm not a big fan of grocery stores, but there are certain benefits. Like right now, like a few weeks ago, we just rigged some of them, and you actually mentioned that. So sometimes it happens that somebody buys your coffee in a grocery store, as they just test it out, try it, and they really like it. They really like your story, and they start to order directly from you. Mm-hmm. Especially in COVID times when we had hard time to fill the stores. There's one store which we actually love, is the Berkeley Bowl in Berkeley. And they ran out of our coffee, and people started to order from a website. And we're like, why they ordered from Berkeley? What happened? Oh, we ran out of coffee there. And some people stayed. Some people stayed on a website and keep ordering it. I have a neighbor here who said, I did not know you are my neighbor. I want to buy it directly from you rather than going to the grocery store. So, yeah, I mean, grocery store definitely works as your advertising, but I expect the low margins, and some grocery stores are just a-holes. Like, they are just like there to take your left kidney, and you have to pay for it.
Oh, that's terrible. I never want to be in a situation like that, Valerian.
Yeah, and that's not Berkeley Bowl. I mean, we don't have. I have to say, we don't have a grocery store like that.
Yeah, after we record this, tell me who these people are, so I don't have to work with them.
There was like I can tell it because the grocery store doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was bought by Safeway. It was Andronicos. We had this conversation that was super weird. So we were pitching our coffee, and the guy was super friendly. It was great. We were killing it, and there was a great vibe. He was excited, and then he gave me a question, which I was like, what? So he asked us, do you do free refills? I'm like, free refills? What do you mean? Well, most of the companies bring us a case of product. We sell it, and after every third case, they give us a free refill. I was like, I'm making here $2 a bag of coffee. So if I give you a free refill, I'll basically do zero. I would be even. Why would I do that?
Right.
And the guy's like, because everybody else is doing that. I said, well, thank you so much. Goodbye. And we left. And he was still interested, by the way, but next day they were sold to Safeway. The guy next day, man, the guy did not know it. So he said, I'm sorry, it's such a surprise for all of us, but, the deal is off and you have to pitch with Safeway. I said, nah, that's cool.
That reminds me of a little story that happened at the beginning of our coffee sales. So we're trying to get into some stores, and there was a chain, national chain that we're trying to get into. We had a friend who was actually the specialty buyer for this chain. And I don't want to say anything specific right now, but they went under right at the beginning of COVID, and we were just about to get into like 4 or 5 stores, like right off the bat, and COVID hit, and then they sold the company. No, the company closed. It was a similar company to Whole Foods, and they closed all of their stores all over the entire country. And just went out of business. And we got an email from a friend saying, hey, do you happen to know any other stores that I might be able to apply to? So our friend, we're going to be working with them on another project. But at the same time, it was just kind of silly. Like these stores just, they don't communicate very well. And you really have to push that. You have to want to be in there to be in there.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned that, the reward will be also regarding how much energy you put in. If you are a person who likes to do demos, I mean, you have to do demos there and you will do okay, So again, for me, those are low margins, and, I'm just too tired to work hard. I'm kidding.
I hear you.
I'm kidding. With 2 companies, on 2 continents, with the podcast,
right?
With online education, and with all the other stuff, boy, I'm like,
you're busy. You're a busy guy.
I was like, I would love if I would have one weekend where I can spend the time with my family or just playing some crazy video game, which is going to happen
one of these
eventually.
Days.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, we had talked about this in private, but like, I know COVID took away your vacation to Europe, and I'm really looking forward to when you're able to go over there and enjoy yourself, because that's just such a shame that you weren't able to take a vacation. And you do work really hard, man. And like, don't sell yourself as somebody who's too old or too tired for this, because man, you kick some ass. You kick some serious ass.
Oh, thank you. Keep talking. But I really miss Europe. I have to say that was a
Yeah.
big for me. Some of my businesses were not doing very well through the COVID. Some of them were okay. Some were doing great.
Yeah.
But the biggest hit in the stomach was that I could not go back. I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't see my family. That hurt so much, and it's with me every freaking day. It's very hard to explain, but that's just horrible, man. That's the worst thing what can happen, and I don't even know when I can go. That's the sad thing. I mean,
Well,
I want to keep my friends and family safe, so I mean, theoretically, I can hop on a plane and go because I'm a European citizen. So I'm still a Slovak citizen, and I can just go. But I would definitely keep the 2 weeks quarantine, and I don't know if I don't risk my friends, and I just don't want to go through that. So
when it's time, you'll be there, and I guarantee you. I'm looking into my my fortune telling ball right now. You're going to work really hard until you do it. So it's just I can see the future here, Valerian. You'll get there, and so will I. And I can't wait to go back. But I know that that's where your heart is, and that's where your friends and family are, and so I really hope that happens for you soon.
well, that said, I love United States, so I just wanted to go for a few months home to check out.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even know where home is. Anyways, I want to pick your brain because there's very smart things there, and I want you to give us maybe 3 or less or more tips for people who want to start a coffee roastery or a cafe. What would be the things which you go like, hey guys, think about it.
Right. And like, there's so many dynamics to starting a roasting company, for instance, or a cafe. But one of the most important things is to check your attitude. You can't go into this being an a-hole. If you do, you're not going to meet the right people. The whole point about this is not to glorify oneself. This is about building a business that's going to be good for the community that you're part of. So, one, you have to be a part of that community, and you have to be kind, and that gets people so much further than being cutthroat.
Amen.
So, yeah, you just got to be kind. That's what it's all about. And then another thing, when you're starting a roasting company, if you don't have business sense and you just want to roast coffee, then get yourself a John Shepard, because my friend John Shepard here, who co-owns Sequential Coffee with me, he fills in all the gaps that I can't. So you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to have people that have business sense, that aren't afraid of taking out loans or anything of that sort, and you got to be able to sell yourself. Like if you can't sell yourself, if you can't get out there and say, I'm doing this right, without feeling conceited, then you're doing the wrong thing. So if you want to be a barista, that's cool. Go get a job as a barista. If you want to be a coffee cafe owner, right, or a coffee roasting facility owner, you're going to have to be a barista then too. You're going to have to get down and dirty with it. You're going to have employees that call out, and so you're going to have to go do it yourself. A lot of the work that we do, most of the coffee production, I'm doing myself. I'm not sitting there in meetings all of the time. I'm actually at the steel table, and right after this, I'm going to be bagging coffee right after we stop talking. So there's a big DIY attitude you have to have. That's one. 2, you have to be nice, and you have to be open to help from others. These are the most important things. Outside of having some really good coffee knowledge, which wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you can get through Coffee Pro, for sure.
Oh, thank you. You're a good salesman. Now, let's talk after the podcast. You give me an idea for a question. There is very few professions within the coffee industry actually can make a living. I mean, what I mean is feed your family and pay your health insurance, save up for your retirement, etc. Do you know any positions in the coffee industry where you can do that?
Well, currently, I'm single guy, so off of what I'm making from our venture, I'm able to afford an apartment and to pay my bills, but that's not enough yet. And so really, if you want a position as opposed to you want to create a business, working in coffee trade is really viable. Like working in import, export, that's a really good way to get into the coffee industry. Businesses like Royal or like Cafe Imports offer really nice positions for people that have different backgrounds, even but being a barista, you have to hustle really, really, really hard to make a good living in that. That got me thinking about a new model. Now, being a business owner myself, what I'd like to do is to be able to provide my team with a living wage. That's the goal, and to be able to provide myself and to my team a living wage. So finding new companies that are trying to push that boundary, and finding a company that's willing to pay more for your efforts is very difficult, but it's possible. And so as a barista or as somebody who's in training for roasting, those companies are out there, small specialty coffee companies. I know that there's some jobs that have been offered on Sprudge, and you can check out on there for any open positions. But a lot of this is create your own lifestyle, and you have to kind of be extra creative so that you can bring in multiple avenues of income. Being a barista is not necessarily viable for supporting a family unless you're touring and you're running your own show and you have your own business as that barista. But coffee does have a lot of different opportunities, and it's really about building those opportunities for yourself. And to do that, first off, you just have to have a basis of knowledge.
Yeah, but everybody is thinking about, coffee equals barista, coffee equals coffee roaster, So I was thinking about it because I remember I loved the barista job. I fell in love with that long time ago. I don't want to be barista anymore. And I kind of fall out of that world because I fall in love with it, I much more appreciate the coffee evaluation and, learning the coffee stories, the varieties and stuff like that. But I know that when I was thinking about this, I would not be able to make enough living to support my family. There's no freaking way. And it's kind of sad. And, I know in Bay Area companies like Equator Coffee, I know they are super generous to pay their baristas, but it's still, it's a very good barista salary, but it's still a barista salary which would not make you a living.
Right.
Which is kind of sad, I would say. But I understand why. I'm just kind of like, now we are just in philosophy levels, right?
In that, you think about the income disparity of coffee producers and coffee farm workers and things of that sort. And all of those things are going to need to change for this industry to survive.
Definitely.
And so basically being as creative as possible is the only way that you're going to be able to get through living on a barista wage, because I know baristas who have taken jobs as trainers. I know baristas create YouTube content.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways of getting it out there, getting the word out there, getting your name out there. And so if you're just going to apply yourself at the cafe and just be a barista, then you have to budget for it because it's going to be kind of tough. But if you can hustle and you can get out there a little bit more and do some competition, sell yourself, these are different ways of making money in that. But a lot of baristas that I know, like Equator, for instance, they hire from within, from their baristas, and they put them in positions of wholesale management, or managing part of the roastery, or different things of that sort. You can go up in a company to be a coffee buyer or things of that sort, which are they do provide adult money at that point. And so I kind of find barista to be a really great introductory point for people to get a career in specialty coffee. It's just not going to get all the meat and potatoes that you want from the get-go.
Right.
You know, it's really more of an investment in yourself as opposed to an investment financially. Taking a job like that, as long as you're willing to go the extra mile after you have that knowledge in hand.
So if you are a barista, you want to be a barista and you start the coffee industry, our 3 tips are: A, become a social media influencer with your barista skills.
Yep.
Obviously, you have to have the looks and the wits of being one. 2, find a company which you can grow within. And I think that's a super tip, because some of the companies are super fun to work for. They are kind of having certain missions, and if you align with them, that just kind of like feels great to being in a good place. And the third one, you grow and you become a trainer or some kind of advisor for, let's say, other coffee businesses. And, you know, the sky is the limit from there. You basically become an entrepreneur. I was thinking about this because I got this question once from a friend of mine. I was like, yeah, there are certain paths, and you nailed it, by the way, but it's not like you become a barista and you will earn fair wage. Well,
right.
It is fair. I'm not saying it's not fair. I'm just trying to say a wage which you can. How did you call it? You call it the adult salary. I like that.
Yeah. Adult money. Yeah,
adult
absolutely.
money. Right. All right. We are getting into the end of this podcast, and usually I have 2 questions at the end. One, do you have a question for me?
Yes, actually. So I know a little bit about you, and I know your interests, and I know that you like to get into a new thing every year, like whether it be wine or cheese or bread making or anything like that. So what are you going to do in 2021?
I'm going to become a barista. No, kidding.
I hear there's no money in that.
No, none of these things which I do every year, which I learn a new skill, has money in it. I did not decide. I think that this year really kind of like kicked me in butt and punched me in the stomach. So I did not think of anything. I mean, there are few paths. Maybe one is sausages.
Oh.
One thing which I would love to learn, but it's not really possible in California, is like a real American barbecue. Different schools, the Texas, the Louisiana, and all these other American schools of barbecue and smoking. But in California, we have so many spare the air days that's kind of like, and half of my family is vegetarian, so it would be me and my son eating a lot of meat.
There's a lot of opportunity to do barbecue here in Florida. So if you ever want to do a little vacation trip, I can show you how to smoke a chicken.
No, that would be awesome. And one other thing that I want to really do, I want to kind of go back and learn a bit more about photography, which I love.
Oh yeah.
I always was doing it, and then I kind of started to do video because of the coffee courses and other stuff I was doing for Boot Coffee. And I like to do videos. That's cool. But what I really love is photography. And for photography, you need to have kind of like your mind have to be there. You have to think about things like you would take a picture. You have to think about it as a photographer, which I miss. Kind of abandoned it in 2012 maybe. So
it's time to pick it back up, man.
Sorry?
It's time to pick it back up because you have a great eye.
Aww.
And in that, what I'd like for you to do is, if possible, add a link to this podcast for one of your earlier videos that are really funny, because you used to do like in your native language some very funny videos, like and like whether it be cooking or some coffee stuff, because those crack me up, man. And,
you know what?
And not only do you have a good eye, but you have a great sense of humor. So lean into it, man.
Thank you, man. I mean, oh wow. I mean, this podcast is great. It really lifts my spirits up. But we leave them in a past, or we leave them to people to find it themselves. Those are. I mean, those are super mature-ish, but as you said, they have a lot of soul. We just had a podcast before you, and we talked about it. And talked about that they made videos. They made very nice production videos, and there is one which is very amateurish, almost like childish, and I loved it because there is authenticity in it. I feel that they had fun making it. I feel that the guys are real, and I just love stuff like that.
If you're able to put away the embarrassment, then you're able to make some really great art. I figure that things that make people laugh, things that bring joy, those are way more important. I feel like most of the time than portraying oneself as a really great business person or whatever. If you can make people laugh, then do it. I think that that's one of the biggest joys in life is just to take a second and not take things too seriously, and just lean into the funny.
Totally. All right, my last question to you is the typical 10K question. I love this question because it reveals your thinking a lot. So if I would give you $10,000 today, what kind of coffee business would you start?
So when you give me $10,000 after this show, I'm going to invest it directly into let's see. There's a number of things. I've been trying not to be crass. So so I think the best thing to do right now would be to follow a trend, and one of those trends is seltzer. I know there's a lot of different seltzer alcohol drinks out there that people are getting onto, especially with the heat. So having a good coffee seltzer that I could can myself, I think that I would put the money into equipment that would make me able to do that, and some R&D that would make me able to make a sparkling coffee in a can kind of product.
Nice. I think that's pretty viable for $10,000.
Yeah, so I'll be waiting for that check to come in so that we can get started on that project.
There was a big if.
Oh, I see. Okay.
In the front of the sentence, and keep waiting, dude. Keep waiting.
maybe every year, starting next year, you can ask that question, and then you can apply that $10,000 to the best idea. That's a way for you to make some money, man.
Yeah, sure, but first I have to make enough so I can say I have $10,000.
Got it.
That reminds me, there's a donate button on the website. It's there for like the 5th episode, and I never mentioned it. So if you guys want to donate some money, just send it. I can buy some wine for myself.
Hit that button, everybody, because we could use it.
We can use it. I'm selfish, man. I'm keeping it for myself for the wine. See, this is the problem with me, man. I cannot even sell myself.
All right, Valerian. I don't know if this might take us off track a little bit, but if I gave you $10,000, what would you do with it?
Now I'm caught. I don't know. I always said that idea what I would do with $10,000, but if it's not coffee, well, first of all, I will not do a coffee business. I will do something else. Okay, so I tell you one thing what I would do. I'm a shepherd of wild yeast. When I do bread and wine and all kinds of fermentation. So, and I'm a big fan of Neapolitan style pizza, not American style pizza, Neapolitan style pizza.
Ooh.
Not because I'm European Nazi or whatever, or fanatic.
Oh, no, you're definitely not that.
No, it's simply because I fall in love. I never liked pizza, but I went to Naples and I really like their style of pizza. It's, the breadier edges and kind of different vibe. So that's what I would do. I would do a little stand, or ideally maybe like a cool, Ford Bronco, made into a little pizzeria.
Like a stone oven in the back.
So I have this awesome oven called Rockbox, which makes Neapolitan pizza needs 950 Fahrenheit to make the pizza within 1.5 minutes, and this Rockbox, it can achieve that. And I'm if you look at my Instagram, you will find tons of like pizzas and stuff. So I use it all the time. So that's what I would do. This Rockbox is like, I forgot, $600. So I bought 2 of those, so it's $1,200. Well, the Bronco would be expensive, so let's just go with a stand, like little stand, tables, whatever, up to $500, you are set with that. So nice fridge with natural wine, fridge plus the natural wines, that would set you up to, up to like $5K. You are ready to make awesome pizza.
And then you just get all the supplies. Hey, Valerian, you're making me really hungry with all this barbecue and sausage and pizza talk. Well, personally, I've had your bread. I've had your crepes. You make excellent crepes. I've had your coffees. I've had many different things that you've done. I've not tried your wine yet, unfortunately. So
or maybe fortunately, who knows?
Oh yeah, true. But I'm looking forward to the year that you choose to get into pie making, because I am a huge fan of pies, and I bet you would blow that out of the water, man.
You know, I did get ready for pie making one year.
Oh.
And I was all about it. I got books and stuff, but then I decided not to do that because of the calories involved.
True. Yeah, no, that would be one of those years where you would have to take up sports and pie making.
Right. So it's in a package, maybe one day, because I love how pie looks like. You know, I like the looks.
God,
They're
yeah.
very rustic and kind of fruit, very honest. What I like is the clean, honest, down to earth look. I don't like a frou-frou, you know, cakes full of cream and beautiful spray painted surfaces, whatever. I like the rustic stuff, man. I like the real stuff.
One of my favorite pie makers out in California is our friend Devora Freudiger. Like amazing pies I see on Instagram all the time from their garden, and it makes me very hungry, and I'm jealous of that pie making skill.
I didn't see that at all. I have to check it out. I stopped. I was just wondering what's happened with Deborah, and I was not seeing any of her posts. Well, I'll check it out. I was just, you know, I guess I didn't like enough, so they kind of disappear from your stream.
For the feed, yeah. True.
All right, man. Where can people find you?
You can find us at sequential.coffee. That's www.sequential, SEQUENTIAL.coffee. And if you're in Jacksonville, you can find us at the Markets at Town Center at our kiosk right between West Marine and Nordstrom Rack. And that's a fun little spot. And we're going to have more and more to share. So I'll definitely keep in touch with you. But thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. As I said, it's harder and harder to find people who wants to share their thoughts about their businesses because, you know, I really go into the real deal, and some people just feel that maybe it's a secret or something. I don't know. But, you know, as I say always, you guys who come on this podcast and share your wisdoms are really awesome. And thank you so much in the name of all the listeners. Have a awesome day, and everybody has an awesome day, and talk to you soon.